girls. So welcome back to Facebook Friday. For the third case for this week, we're going to Emporia, Kansas. This case is a little bit of a serial killer case that's not as well known. As you can tell by the title, our killer apparently was really good, committed what she did, considering the fact that how she kept getting acquitted. And so basically, I'm going to give what's publicly known. Let me know if you've heard this case before me covering it. Shout out to Briefcase, for helping me deeper research into an older case, because this is one of those older cases. So with that being said, I'm going to quit my rambling and let's go get started. So we're going to start, of course, with Minnie, as you can tell by the title of this video. So Minnie Wallace was born in January of 1865. At some point, apparently her parents were divorced. Her mother, Elizabeth, had apparently run a boarding house, and Minnie was the piano player in said boarding. So a man by the name of James Reeves Walker would apparently come to New Orleans and ask for Minnie's hand in marriage. He was born August 10th, 1836. He had first gotten married to a woman by the name of Hannah Matlock, and together they had a daughter by the name of Elizabeth. He apparently had served in the Civil War and had made money from working in the coal mines. And I guess wherever he was living at, apparently he was the acting mayor when the actual mayor was out of town for whatever reason. So I guess he was like the step-in mayor. So I guess back then, whenever you wanted to have someone's hand in marriage, you went to go ask their parents. So James went to go ask Elizabeth for Minnie's hand in marriage. And as Elizabeth was like, well, Minnie's a grown woman, she could say yes for herself. So I'm going to decline, you better go ask her directly. Even despite the fact he offered $4,000, which was a lot back then. So I guess he really wanted to marry Minnie, because apparently he even upped the offer, from $4,000 to however much he had upped it to, and said, if you got any family members that need a good paying job, I got just take my hand in marriage. So eventually, Minnie, I guess, would actually give in after a month of him asking for hand in marriage, essentially. And then for whatever reason, Elizabeth, the mom, she wanted her daughter to get married in Cincinnati, Ohio. But apparently neither one of them were legally members or legally residents of Ohio. So apparently, for whatever reason, they couldn't do that. So they had to get married in Covington, Kentucky. So James had apparently left town for Topeka, Kansas, and came back on April 5th, 1885. He apparently wound up becoming sick soon after. A doctor was called. James became ill again 2 days later. The doctor returned. He became well again. He apparently ate some oysters and became sick again, and then died on August 22nd. All within a week of him coming back from this little business trip. So then, of course, after James died, it was revealed that Minnie had apparently bought arsenic and strychnine. And then Minnie, of course, would try to say that arsenic apparently was for her face, because at one point in history, women were using arsenic on their faces as some sort of beauty method. So she tried to use that excuse. So I guess they asked for the bottle to confirm that, how much arsenic you actually have. And so she agrees to give them the bottle that apparently was unopened, but she apparently spills it. She apparently drops the bottle, and then that spills the arsenic everywhere. So I guess the bottle's now useless. And somehow in all this, apparently, Minnie is apparently still a minor, so she has her legal guardianship, and I guess the mayor apparently takes over to be her legal guard. And so then Minnie would apparently be arrested and actually charged with murder. However, there would be people from other cities coming to her defense, basically saying that James was addicted to opioid pills, or James was apparently addicted to arsenic pills, and they believed that protected him from STDs. So then Minnie is apparently acquitted and goes back to New Orleans, and apparently inherits $250,000 from James. So then after all this, Minnie apparently moved to Chicago. She would meet John Burden Ketchum, who was born September 15th, 1849. He had divorced his second wife, Nettie Poe, and apparently had married Minnie on November 1st, and by November 13th, this man is dead. And so, of course, an autopsy is done, and it is revealed that apparently his cause of death was what they could find was alcohol. And then, of course, you can imagine Minnie also inherited $250,000 from him as well. So now that you have technically two husbands dead, she would then meet DeLacy H. Louderback, who was also, of course, a married man. He showered Minnie with gifts. He bought furniture and a house for him and Minnie to stay in. He would, of course, move to London, I assume, to be with him. His wife died. He sent a letter to Minnie, asking her to return so they could get married. She replied that, I already married another man. So he died soon after from cyanide poisoning, and it wasn't sure if it was murder or suicide. However, 25% of his assets that he had when he died, that got left to Minnie. And so Minnie would actually wind up returning to America, because like I said, remember, she had moved to London. She returned to America under the name Estelle Minnie Keening, and she died on May 10th, 1957, at the age of 88 in San Diego. And so that's the case of Minnie Wallace Walkup. A little bit of a serial killer who never really served any jail time. But it's pretty obvious that she killed these men that were close in her life. So like I said, if you've heard this case before, definitely let it below, or if you learned something new today, definitely let it down below. And so with that being said, I cover faith females 2 times a week. Subscribe for faith females, and see you on the next one. Bye.